everybody. Thank you for joining me and thank you for checking out my first video. You will have to excuse the atmosphere that you are experiencing for this video because I have very little time to record a video right now. And I had to go drive to pick up my children in the next couple of towns over. So I figured it's the only downtime I have. So this is where we're gonna do it. So you're seeing the real, authentic me, unprimmed. I don't really do much of that anyway. You're not gonna see me with makeup on very often. You're not gonna see me all dolled up. You're gonna see me forever, all natural, with my natural hair, my natural nails, my natural face, no filters applied, dress how I always dress on a regular day, and I honestly didn't even brush my hair. It just rained. I just went outside and I danced in the rain, literally, with my 4-year-old. So yeah, my hair is still a little bit wet. So yeah, so you were getting like the real authentic me in every video, and this is my first one that I will be posting. Not the first one I'm recording, first one I'm posting to my YouTube channel that isn't video game directed, because this channel, although I know doesn't make much sense, has a lot of video game streaming in it. But my main goal for this channel to develop into is going to be mostly spiritual stuff and energetic healing stuff. So it's going to be a combo of the two for a while I kind of navigate trying to get both situated. So I'm going to have a little something for multiple people, I guess, on this channel. But I am not one that wants multiple channels to manage. That I'm going to have a hard enough time managing one channel. So yeah, I'm not going to start a second channel just for different type of content. So you guys will just have to mingle with each other in my community, whether you follow one or both. So this video is going to be all about my spiritual awakening journey and what that has meant to me and how it came along and what it has done. And I'm going to try to not make this video too awful long, because I know that the length of your video really does determine if people actually click on it and watch it. So I'm going to try to keep this as short as I can. So my spiritual awakening was last August, so a little over a year ago. I've always been very spiritual. I was not brought up religious. My grandmother took me to Sunday school occasionally, not all the time. My parents were not religious. Not many people in my family were religious, honestly, mostly just my grandmother, and she wasn't exactly like a Bible thumper, if you want to call it that. She wasn't going around preaching or anything or advocating for her religion. She just went to church on Sundays and occasionally took me with her. So it wasn't like a huge thing in my life. My parents weren't spiritual. Fast forward, any belief in God that I had, for the longest time I'd just been a atheist. Just not necessarily that I don't believe in a God, just that I don't believe that there's any one right thing to believe, and there's possibility that anything could be true, but anything could also be wrong, and I don't want to put any stock into anything. So whatever exists, and I'm not going to spend my life worshiping anything or anyone. And that's basically how I was up until last year. I believed in spirituality, I believed in energy, and I believed in fate. I believed that things happen for a reason, which very much made it easier for me when my daughter died, that's a whole nother story for another time, because that's a whole long story. So thankfully, believing in that, I knew that she wasn't just taken away for no reason whatsoever. There was something I was supposed to learn from it, and I did learn from it. And last August, I started training for Reiki last spring. Got my first level attunement in August. I had no idea at the time that was going to trigger my awakening process. That, and the fact that a close friend of mine also started their awakening process at the same time, and I think the two of us being near each other kind of fit each other's awakening kind of thing. And the only reason that I even know what Reiki is is because when my daughter was being treated for cancer, they had volunteers that were willing to do Reiki on the patients, but also the parents of the patients. And they were like, would you like some Reiki done on your child? And I was like, I have no idea what that is, but sure, anything that can't hurt. So they came into the room, and my daughter had just been admitted. It was like, she was still in a lot of pain. She had a tumor that was pushing on things that hurt, and she was in tears crying because she was in pain. So they went over and they just kind of hovered their hands over her. There's two of them, two ladies. And after a couple seconds of them doing that, she stopped crying. And I'm like, oh, that's strange. But at the same time, the nurse was also administering morphine. They were administering morphine into her IV for the pain. And I just assumed the morphine had kicked in. That's why she'd stopped crying. So they're doing it, and they stop. And I'm like, okay, if you need anything, if you would like another session at some point, you or your daughter, let us know. And we volunteer here every week and come do sessions. And I said, okay, that's great, thank you. As soon as they left the room, she started crying again because the pain had come right back. I was like, whatever they were doing was helping, and it made the pain stop long enough for her to be able to stop crying and catch her breath. A few minutes later, the morphine, I keep wanting to call it Novocaine again, the morphine kicked in and she was comfortable. But the fact that I witnessed her pain going away just from what these ladies were doing, it fascinated me. I was like, I need to know more. So then I started asking them, can you do this to me? And so I went in and I had it done for the first time, and all I could feel the whole session was like I was weightless, like I just sank right into the table. Like I had never felt so relaxed and calm in my entire life. And then I started to feel tingles, like I could feel tingly feelings. Tingly is as close as I can get. It's not really tingly, but I could feel the energy. I know what it is now because I do it and I feel it all the time. But I could feel like this pulsating feeling kind of wherever they were hovering their hands over me. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but I'm very fascinated by it and I love it. And I would go for sessions every single time I was there with my daughter if they were there. And at one point I started asking questions about it, and they're like, you should do this. You should be trained to do Reiki. And I was like, yes, I definitely want to learn how to do Reiki. But this was back in 2012. I did not start training for Reiki until last year, 2021. So it took me a long time to finally start the process of learning Reiki. But when I got that level 1 attunement, I had no idea that it was going to open me up to the spiritual world altogether. I didn't experience anything right then and there at the moment that it was being done. I felt light, I felt calm, and I felt energy flowing through me, but that was about it. And then like the day or two after that, I was scheduled to go on, it was the day after, I believe, I was scheduled to go on a retreat to a friend's place. He has a hostel out in the woods, and I was going there for a retreat to get away, to have some me time, because at that point in my life I was very lost. I felt I had no goal or mission in life to work towards. I felt like the only thing I had ever accomplished in my entire life was being a mom, and to me that was just not enough. Being a mom was not enough. I needed to do something more. I'd never held a steady job for more than a few years, because it seemed like either being a mom pulled me away from that job and I'd have to leave, or something would happen, I would just get sick of it and leave. Something always happened and I didn't stay long. And I always felt like I was needed at my house. I always felt like I'm supposed to stay home, like I'm needed at home. So I went there to try to find myself, to try to find goals, find some sort of purpose for myself, to work towards for my life. I was there for like 3 days, and the very last day in the morning when I got up, I was having coffee out on the deck, which was my routine while I was there, was to have coffee out on the deck and watch the view, because there's a beautiful view of the mountains, and he was cooking pancakes out on the grill for his guests that were staying there, and he just started talking about different things about the way the world was and the things that most people don't see, because a lot of people are just going, because remember, this was like in the middle of COVID. I think it was like, when was it, at the beginning? Like, it was like, it was starting to fizzle out a little bit, but it was still pretty crazy. But it was like a lot of commotion about, like, some people like, oh, this is a lab leak, and a lot of it was planned, it was created just to wipe us out. And everybody else is like, no, those people that think that are crazy. And then you've got the ones that are like pro-maskers versus anti-maskers, and like the whole world was divided against each other. And it seemed like a lot of the people that I knew, had talked to about it anyway, believed basically whatever the news was telling them, which I was awake enough, at least at that point, to not trust anything I was reading on the news or seeing on the news, or on Facebook. And he started talking about things that he believed, and they all resonated with me. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Yes, that's what I believe too. Yes, that's exactly how I see this. And then he like just started like unloading things on me, like what he thought was gonna happen in like the next year or two, and like the chaos of the world, what direction he thought it was gonna go. And he told me about his awakening, which I don't know if he had a spiritual awakening or a Kundalini one, but he may have had a Kundalini awakening, I'm not sure, because his was way more extreme than mine was. He like had like a vision and like saw light, and yeah, like it was like his awakening was way more extreme than mine was. And I was like, whoa, you saw what now? And he was like telling me all this stuff, and then we sat and talked for hours about things that we think are going to happen in the future and ways we should prep and prepare. And I was like, okay. And I was a little freaked out. I actually cried several times while we talked because I was so scared. And I actually went and had to pull myself away and meditate for a little while to clear my head and take it all in. And then I came back to the conversation after I did that with a fresh mind and ready to like take in anything else he had for me. And he recommended a couple books. I bought them. I read them. They're amazing. If you'd like to read them yourself, I will link them in the description below. Great reads. I highly recommend, especially if you're like newly awakening, and you want to know more about the truth of the world and how it's really operating behind the scenes. One is called Mass Awakening, and the other one is called I think it's called The Death of America or something like that. So I will link those in the description of the video. So I read both of those. Those brought so much like clarity to the world. And then I just like started like reading and absorbing the material. And it seems like when you go through a spiritual awakening process, like all you want to do from that point on is absorb as much information as you can. Like I've always wanted to learn, but there was like a whole new extreme to that. Like I wanted to read every book I could get my hands on. I wanted to watch every YouTube video that I could watch that was talking about anything that related to this. And I just was like, podcasts, everything. And I spent more time reading than anything else, in all honesty. I have like both of us have a whole library of books that we got in the last year about spirituality and manifesting and Kundalini and like just chakras and everything from one end of the spectrum to the other. And like I just absorbed so much information. And then once you start absorbing it, you can kind of like your intuition kicks in. Like a lot of people are intuitive before they wake up, but when you have your spiritual awakening, like your intuition is like threefold, and you're like, you can hear something or read something or watch something on TV and you're instantly like, that's not right. That's bullshit. People could tell me stuff and sound so sincere, and I'd be like, they're lying. Like, I can see right through that. And then other people are like, what are you talking about? And then would find out later that they were lying. And I'd be like, I told you. And they're like, how did you know? And I'm like, I don't know. I just knew it. But like, your intuition is like really spot on. And like, you can pick up on things. You can pick up on people's energies, the energy of people around you. Like, you can just feel if the energy is not okay. And I did a lot of finding new friends, because all the people that I used to be friends with and hang out with, their energy didn't meld well with my own, and it wasn't comfortable anymore. And it's not saying that the people that I was friends with and hung out with before were bad people, because they're not. They just, their energy wasn't as high. Like, their vibration wasn't high. Their energy wasn't happy like me. It wasn't optimistic in it. A lot of them were either pessimists, or they drank a lot and that brings your vibrations down, or they were just very woe is me, the world is out to get me kinds. So yeah, I have like a whole new circle of friends now. A lot of my old friends unfortunately fell away to the wayside, and they're still in my life. I just don't see or talk to them much anymore. So yeah, like when you go through an awakening, everything changes. The way you feel things changes. The way you look at things changes. Your sense of what's right and wrong, your gut instinct changes and is stronger. Your thirst for knowledge on the subject is like extremely intense. And yeah, so like I started delving into everything. Through the last year, I got my Reiki Master Practitioner certification and got my attunement done, and I've been loving that. That's definitely like the foundation of what my healing business is going to be based on, is the Reiki. But there's going to be so many other aspects woven into it, because everything's drawing me right now, especially sound healing. I love sound healing. That'll be my next thing that I get certified in, is sound therapy. So it's just so much to delve into. And your feeling of being connected to the universe is just so intense, because before all this, I felt alone, even though I wasn't alone. And now I just feel like even when I'm alone, I'm very connected to the universe, and I feel like I'm never alone anymore. I feel very at peace and tranquil and connected to the source energy that we all are attached to. And I couldn't feel that before. And I've had clarity. There's been things that I have been struggling with, and I've got clarity on them now. You get downloads, which is what we like to call them, when you just get like a quick flash of information in your head. Some people get visions, some people hear voices, some people see words, some people just get sensations. We call them downloads. And I got tons of those, like all the time. And those downloads give you very important information, and a lot of the times the information that you get in those downloads completely changes your outlook on something, or completely explains why something happened or how something's going to happen. It's quite amazing, the process you go through when you wake up. So that has been a year, and I feel very happy, very at peace, very much not afraid of anything anymore, because I know that everything happens in divine timing. Everything happens the way it's supposed to, when it's supposed to. And if something that I really, really want to happen is not happening in my life, it's not because I'm doing something wrong. It's because it's not supposed to happen yet, if ever. So I can't be upset if I don't get what I want, or if something doesn't happen the way I want it to, because it wasn't supposed to happen that way for a reason. And maybe if it had happened the way that I wanted it to, something bad might have happened in exchange. So I'm just taking life as it is handed to me now, and enjoying every moment that I possibly can in any way that I can. So I hope that you guys enjoyed that video, and I'm at my destination now. So thank you for joining me. I hope that that gave you some food for thought on the awakening process, and hopefully if you guys are awake already and gone through your own awakening process, you can relate. And I would love to hear about your experiences in the comments. And if you have not had your own awakening experience yet, but you are intrigued by it, comment below. Maybe we can help each other, help you trigger an awakening process. Make sure you like and subscribe for my future content so you're notified when it pops up. And I hope that you guys have an amazing day. Love and light.